Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia. I'm here to review The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 9, Episode 2. Let's get started. Next to The Real Housewives of Atlanta, New York is my next favorite franchise. I love all the ladies. They bring a lot to the table. They have a lot of drama. They have a lot of shade. It's probably one of the meatier franchises next to Atlanta. So I really enjoy it. So this week's episode opens up with Sonja at her house. We are introduced to Tinsley Mortimer, the newest housewife. She gives us a background of who she is, the scandal she's went through, and basically that she's moving from Palm Springs to New York, and she's planning on living with Sonja until she finds her own place. According to Tinsley, she and Sonja have been friends for 15 years, and Sonja feels just as warmly about her. The show moves over to Bethany's house, and Ramona comes over. And there was this weird exchange where Ramona didn't acknowledge the dogs, so Bethany tried to make her feel bad about it. But then Ramona turns it around on Bethany and said, well, how come I didn't know you had dogs? How come you didn't send me a picture? So it becomes this whole thing for like a few minutes, and it wasn't even that serious. So during this little group setting, it's Bethany, it's Ramona, and it's Carole. They sit around talking about Tinsley Mortimer, who she is, that she's living with Sonja, and just kind of a little bit of her backstory. And Bethany seems to know most about her, that she was a socialite, her fall from grace, that kind of thing. So while they're hanging out, Carole announces she's going to have an election party. And Ramona makes a comment about the emails about Hillary Clinton. And you can see it in Bethany's face, like, oh, don't open it up, Ramona, don't do it. And of course, Carole pounces on that, and those are irrelevant, and she gets really on the defensive. And it just creates this tense moment where Carole's saying she's probably more informed than the average bear, and Ramona doesn't know anything about anything, that she gets all her information from Facebook. And so Ramona really tries to keep it calm, and she says, she reads or whatever. And so finally they just drop the subject. And so Ramona says she probably won't be going to her party. And I have to say, Ramona may be kooky, but she definitely does her research. That's one thing we know about Ramona. She loves her research. You can just ask Luann and Tom. So we move over to Sonja's house, where we see Tinsley and Sonja. It's early morning, and Tinsley walks into Sonja's room, who's still in the bed, and Sonja remarks how good Tinsley looks. And Tinsley says, oh, I sleep in my makeup. So she has this whole I woke up like this vibe. And she says she sleeps in a full face of makeup and her lashes and everything. I was like, wow, really? Is that serious? But I'm not a socialite. I don't know. Maybe there are paparazzi hanging in her bushes, and she has to look ready all the time. Or used to be paparazzi. She and Sonja start talking about Tinsley's desire to get married again. She wants to have kids. She's frozen her eggs. She's 41 years old. And so Sonja takes it super seriously. She puts her glasses on. She gets out a notepad and paper. They start to strategize about how to find a man and where they live and all this stuff. I was like, man, Sonja's really on her game. But I wonder why Sonja hasn't landed a new man after the Morgan thing. She just hasn't really been able to bounce back. So we go to Tinsley, get to know a little bit more about her. She talks about being an it girl, and she launches into this story about how becoming an it girl isn't by accident. She tells the story how she went to a party one day, and she went onto the red carpet, and people took her photo, and nobody knew who she was. And so after that, everyone started to photograph her everywhere she went. And so she said when she wore her hair straight, they didn't recognize her, but when she wore it curly, then they did. So then that curly hair became her signature look. And I was like, everybody wears that signature look, and you weren't the first? Wasn't Farrah Fawcett the first? And she probably wasn't even the first. But at any rate, that's Tinsley's story and how she became an it girl. And to me, it sounds like she became famous by accident, which is what she's trying to prove didn't happen. Nobody knew who you were. You walked on that red carpet by accident. Maybe not. I didn't get the point of the story. So if you guys did, let me know below how her becoming a socialite was not an accident. She lets us know that she really misses her former life. She wants it back. And I have to wonder, she talked to us about how there are certain families that are very well known in New York, and Topper's family was one of them. And so I'm thinking, well, you probably had that life because you were married to him. And now that you're not, you don't have that life. So I don't know that she's relating. And maybe it doesn't sound like she was famous before she married him, since they got married after boarding school. But maybe she's thinking that all of that attention was because of her. But it might have just been because of who she was married to. Probably was. That's how the world works. Then we see Dorinda and her daughter. Her daughter's finally moving out, and they're shopping for furniture at this store. And Dorinda says that Hannah's father is footing the bill for this apartment. And I was wondering, well, who's her father? Do we know? I guess I thought it was Richard. But then I remembered Richard actually wasn't her father. But so do we know who he is? We see Bethany at home with her two new assistants, and they're collecting clothes for the Dress for Success, just as we saw last week when Sonja was donating clothes for Bethany. Well, it doesn't look like Bethany has near as many clothes as Sonja did, and maybe because Sonja holds on to everything, I'm not sure, but it looked like Bethany had about 5 pieces of clothing, where Sonja had like department store racks of clothes. So the bulk of the show takes place at Sonja's house for her Mad Hatter tea party. She did not invite Dorinda because she's still mad at her, but she invited all the other ladies, and the invitation said wear color, which almost nobody did. Only Bethany and Luann showed up wearing color. Everyone else wore black or black and white, and the neighbor wore a white dress with black flowers or something weird, and then, well, not weird, but just not exactly what was expected. And even Sonja, who kept complaining about it, she wore a black dress with big red flowers on it, but it seemed to me more of a black dress than a red dress. So I was like, oh well. So then Bethany and her friend Terry were discussing, was anybody going to wear hats to the party? And so Bethany said, well, Luann's head's so big, she probably can't find a hat. And then they show Luann walking down the street with this huge hat. It looked like a cowboy hat. It was hilarious. So before the party gets started, we see that Sonja has borrowed her brother's butler or someone's butler. She borrowed a butler last year too. I forgot who it belonged to. I think it was her ex-brother-in-law's. Anyway, so this butler shows up and he has no love for Ramona. He has nothing but shade for her. And they're talking in the kitchen with Tinsley. And her butler is saying that Ramona ran off that good man. And so Tinsley says, well, didn't he cheat on her? And the butler says, wouldn't you? It was so shady. Like, he had no love at all. He said Ramona was crazy. It really reminded me of Adrian Maloof's butler back on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I forgot, I think he was talking about Lisa Vanderpump at that time. He was throwing shade about Lisa Vanderpump. What was his name? I was trying to remember what it was. Was it Benny or something like that? Anyway, he later got fired. But it reminded me of the same kind of thing. Like, you have this butler who's, well, I think in Adrian's case, was he a butler or a chef? Maybe it was her chef. Anyway, he was throwing shade just like he did. Carole and Ramona get into it again about the whole politics thing, and Carole's just maintaining that she knows more than everybody about this election, and that Ramona doesn't know anything. And she started out apologizing to Ramona, that she's sorry if she said anything that offended her, something along those lines. And Ramona was trying to clarify, look, I'm informed, I read the paper, I read the whole thing, whatever. And Carole's like, well, I was in journalism, I was a journalist for 15 years, I still have friends who are journalists, blah, blah, blah. I mean, she really came off super conceited. Like, get over it, Carole, you're not a journalist anymore. And I'm sure there's lots of information that your friends, ex-peers can't even share with you. And if Carole had been getting as much intel as she claimed, she would have known Donald Trump was going to win. But she was probably as blown away as anyone. So poor Tinsley. She is so insecure. She has really been through. I guess that whole public scandal that she went through, that she kept talking about, being arrested by her ex-boyfriend for trespassing, and she claimed she was unaware that she wasn't allowed to go over there, and the whole thing was she was blindsided by the whole thing. She just seems so awkward, and she's meeting all the different ladies, and she seems like she really wants to connect with them, and she's very scared to even go downstairs without Sonja. So I feel for her. So far, the jury is out on Tinsley. I don't dislike her yet, but I think she's in a position where she's been very humbled right now. So she's probably more gracious than maybe she used to be. So I don't know, man. She kind of reminds me of Sonja. Sonja was married to Morgan, was living life high on the hog, crumbled. So Tinsley's in the same boat. So maybe that's why they're friends. Luann and Sonja sit down and try to clear the air. Luann's upset because Sonja's been in the press talking about she'll be there for Luann if things fall apart, no matter what happens, I'll be there. And Luann feels that all of those kinds of comments are very negative because she wants Sonja to be supportive. And so Sonja doesn't see it as negative. She is just going off and just saying the same thing again, and she feels like she's being very supportive because she truly believes that Luann's going to get hurt, just like Ramona thinks she's going to get hurt, it's not going to work out, that Tom's a cheater and Luann could do better, and all these different things. So they really don't come to a conclusion because it's kind of hard to talk to Sonja because she's just on her own, she's on a one-track mind thing, and there really is no conclusion. But the interesting thing is, now Sonja feels super strongly about Tom, and he's a cheater and he's a liar and he's untrustworthy and all these things, but she sure wasn't suspicious when she was dating him, and they were friends with benefits for 10 years and all of these things, and when she was flirting with him on the boat last year and introduced him to one of your friends. And so I don't know that she's jealous like Luann says. I think that Ramona really got in her head and messed her up and made her think there was more to that relationship than there ever was. I think she did know there was nothing to their relationship, but then she started to think, man, this could be me. Because I really think that for them, these women, marriage is status. And so she needs to be married to have the status she once had with the Morgans. So I think that's really maybe what it's about. But I don't think she really loved Tom or had any thought around it being anything other than what it was. So here we go, y'all. Here's where the drama is going to be this season. Tinsley's talking about how it was so nice to meet all the ladies except for Bethany. Bethany was not warm to her. Tinsley's from the South, so she's very open. But Bethany was not. She just shook her hand and that was it. And I was thinking, that was nice for Bethany. Like, have you ever seen the show? Like, you've not seen any show about Bethany? You don't know anything about her? Come on now. I find that hard to believe. Because Bethany was actually pretty cool with her. And what did she really expect? You're meeting a stranger for the first time. I mean, even if you're a new cast member, this is still Bethany. You still got to consider the source. So anyway, y'all, I think it's going to come to a head at some point. I think that's why Bethany's tagline is, if you come for the B, you better not miss. I think it's going to get ugly before it gets better. So we'll see what happens, guys. Hope you watched it. If you watched it, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of episode 2. Thanks for watching my channel today, my review. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.